All right, we back at it. I'm back with my man, Leon. Last time you were here, let's see, it's been a couple of weeks. We were able to kind of give the lay of the land as far as what led up to you being in the position that you're in right now. You're running your business. You guys are going crazy. Just even as a reminder for me, you mentioned you got some pretty big goals in the business this year. Where are you looking to close out this year?
This year, we're looking to close out with over $2 million.
Amazing. Cool. So you on your trajectory, and there was a lot that came before that, and we were kind of able to dive into some of that. I know we spoke even prior to the cameras rolling on kind of like some of the intention of what we want to communicate and like speak over and dive into today, which is more of like what the day-to-day, what the active, what the behind the scenes of what you're doing in your business now looks like. In the subject of real estate, I think real estate is one of those things that people hear about and they hear that it's a great game to be in. The majority of wealth in the world or in the country is made through real estate. But it's one of those things that is very easy for you to think, that's not me. Like I have to be at a certain place. I have to know certain things, certain people, have to have come up in a certain way for me to be able to play that game and see some of those gains. So I think the first place I'd like to start with you is when you first started your career, your professional career, did you have that same kind of understanding or that same idea in your mind? Was that broken down over time? What led you to be able to know with confidence that you were going to be able to have the degree of success in this game that you've had?
That's a great question. So prior to me getting into the real estate wholesale game, I was a real estate agent in New York City. I was specializing in rentals. Like I said, New York City's king of multifamily. So the rental game, there's always people moving in, moving out. So there's a big niche there to make a lot of money in rentals. I was doing anywhere from $15,000 to $20,000 a month doing rentals. And I built my own team. So I already had experience leading people and basically renting apartments. That's where my knowledge came from, building teams. To answer your question, that was in New York City. I moved to Orlando in 2018, and with the idea of getting inside the real estate wholesale game because I saw young guys making money in the space, flipping contracts, flipping paper. Let's be clear. Real estate wholesaling is not real estate investing. It's a sales and marketing business, okay? It's a high-ticket sales and marketing business. However, the beautiful thing about real estate wholesaling is that you can make unlimited money if you understand people, systems, and processes, right? The way I got into the business is I started driving for dollars. What that means is basically pulling a list either from the county or buying a list, either a probate, a pre-probate, a tax delinquent, people that are losing their homes, pre-foreclosures, foreclosures, or pretty much anything, or people that are in distress. We call these motivated sellers. And there's many ways of getting to these motivated sellers. I already had previous experience in cold calling. So cold calling is actually not as expensive as other marketing strategies. However, if you focus on cold calling like we have, you can make the most money, in my opinion, from cold calling. Right? Because you get to have that interaction over the phone with the sellers. So I did that. I got a list. I skip traced the list, right? But skip tracing is basically finding out who the seller's phone numbers and addresses, et cetera. Let's say you already find out. Let's talk about a pre-foreclosure list, right? These are people that are losing their properties, right? After 3 months of delinquency with their mortgage payments, they start getting letters from the bank saying, "Hey, we're gonna take over your house. We're gonna take the house away from you if you don't make the mortgage payment," right? So we'll get access to that information. We'll grab a list. We'll skip trace the list, and you can either text message them, you can either cold call them, you can send them a mailer. There's different ways. You can do ringless voicemails. There's different strategies to get to them. My best advice is to start with one and master one strategy first. One of the biggest mistakes I've seen people make in the game is they want to try different things. They want to try mailers, they want to try cold calling, SMS, and ringless voicemails, and PPC, which is pay per click. And there's different, there's different budgets for these things, right? So I always stuck to cold calling. Cold calling has always been my go-to marketing strategy, right? Because you can go and outsource using Upwork or Fiverr. You can go there and hire virtual assistants, cold callers who's already specialized, who already work from home or work from an office environment, and you can pay, $3 to $4 to $5 an hour. Mm-hmm. And you can hire them for 40 hours a week for them to cold call these lists. So when they get on the phones, they cold call these lists, they pre-qualify the sellers. They know the timeline, they know the ballpark figure, and basically the price. What are you looking to get for the property? All that information gets collected by the cold callers. The cold callers bring that to our closers, to our acquisition reps or managers, right? These are the guys that are going to close the deal. So, for example, let's call her Sammy. Sammy is the cold caller, and she generated 123 Main Street, right? They want $50,000 for the property. We know that the property is worth $130,000 once it's renovated. They want $50,000. After running the numbers, we realized that the acquisition manager needs to get them at $40,000 on their contract. So the acquisition, literally over the phone, because 95% of our business is over the phone, sales, high ticket sales business, will lock them up over the phone for 40, because we know that cash buyers in the area are picking up the same type of property in the same condition to make it easy for $60,000. Mm-hmm. So if we lock it up for $40,000 on the acquisition side, we can disposition the deal, right, for $60,000 to make $20,000. Does that make sense?
To keep that spread.
Yeah, so you get to keep that spread. Now, there's more things that go behind it, right? But at the beginning, when you don't have any money, you can pick up a list for little to no money, or if you go to enough meetup groups, you might have people that just give you the list. Mm-hmm. All you really got to do is call them from your personal cell phone until you get your first deal. Mm-hmm. The more dials you make, the quicker you're going to get to success. I believe that if you want to get your first deal, the best way to get your first deal, let's say in the first 30 days, is to get a highly motivated seller list and cold call them like, hello, John. Yes, this is Leon with Buy Your Keys. We're calling in reference to your property here at 123 Main Street. By any chance, would you be interested in a cash offer at the moment? They say yes. And then you go into, okay, great. Can you tell me a little bit more about the condition of the property so I can get you the highest and best cash offer? And then you go into a whole pitch, right? Extracting all the information from the sellers. The more information you can get from the sellers, the better it's going to be for the acquisition people to close the deal.
They have more leverage.
They have context, more intel, and understanding of the seller's pain points, right? These people are usually people that are going through a loss of income, a death in the family, a medical illness, a divorce, or they just simply want to relocate, right? Now, we don't only offer cash offers to these sellers, right? We also have other strategies, right? Novations is one of them, right? We don't call it novations. We call it partnerships. And we have different type of paperwork that was reviewed by a professional attorney. So we make it easier for the sellers with these, let's call it partnership deals, because we're no longer in competition with the lowball cash offers. What we're in competition basically now with the realtors. We're beating the realtors out of their own game because the realtors want to list high to get the most commission.
Right.
We don't want to do that. What we're doing is we're giving the sellers certainty on price with the partnership offers and actually selling them quickly on the MLS. Right. We don't want to be the highest listed property on the market because we look at the active, pending, and sold. And instead of us being the highest price property on the market, we want to be the wholesale deal on the market. So this way they call us first.
Makes it really easy to snatch up.
It makes it really easy for us to sell it on the open market. Yeah. Right? So we also work with a lot of realtors. Now, we call this exits. So which exits are we gonna take when we have a lead? We don't believe in throwing away leads, by the way. Every single lead we nurture, right, in our CRM. But we always start with a cash offer. Every single property, we're gonna start with a cash offer. If the cash offer doesn't work, we're gonna go into the partnership offer. The partnerships only make sense if the seller's home could pass a VA, an FHA, or a conventional loan, right? Because we can put a 30-year loan on this property. So basically, we're wholesaling to end consumers, to retail buyers, which is a beautiful business right now. It's a great strategy that is working in today's market, right? We're still with the cash offers. They're still out there. But we also have creative deals, like creative finance deals, seller finance, subject twos, wraparound mortgages. We can do all these creative exits as well. You know, if a seller basically owns the property outright, they have no mortgage on it, but they want to hold the note for 15, 20, 25 years, we can structure a seller finance or owner finance deal. And we can still wholesale that and make 10, 15, 20, $30,000 on an assignment on a creative deal. We could also do subject twos where we take over the mortgage, right? Because there's a lot of sellers right now that have 2-3% rates. And remember, we look at this, seller finance is all about the gain. Subject to, which is if they still have a mortgage in place, but they want to sell it and hold the note, it's all about paying to the seller. So there is many ways to skin a cat, 1,000 ways to skin a cat. We just look at every single deal, which exit are we going to take? Another thing that I didn't have at the beginning was an underwriter, right? I truly believe that when running an operation, I believe having an underwriter, a numbers guy, within your organization is key. That's the person that runs every single number and works back to back with the closers both on the dispo side and on the acquisition side, right? Because let me put it to you simple. Lead comes in from the cold callers. It's hot, right? We have a system. We have a code red, code blue, code yellow. Let's start with code red. Code red they're ready to go. They're ready to sell in under 30 days. They want 50, 60% of Zestimate, and they want out. They need a cash offer now. They need to go. Or they want to do a partnership deal, whatever the case may be. That's a code red. That gets, somebody rings a bell and says, this person needs attention. The underwriter comes in, runs the numbers and says, we can offer, let's say it's worth 300. Let's offer 130. Max allowable offer we can do on this one is 155. Don't go higher than 155. The game here in wholesaling is the lower you can get it, the more money and more spread you make on the assignment of contract, right? Great. So the underwriter works with the acquisition reps and basically says, hey, Mr. Acquisition guy, do not go higher than 155. That's your max allowable offer, MAO. We also have a least allowable offer, right? Which is, we're going to start out at 120. We're going to anchor at 120, and we're going to work ourselves up to 155 on a worst case scenario. Right. But your job is to even get them at 100, 110. You got to test the seller's waters and understand their pain points to make an offer. You don't owe, if you do it wrong, you could also offend the seller. They can click the phone on you. You lost the opportunity. But I helped a lot of my guys when that happened, and I get back on the phones and I save the deal. Mm-hmm. So basically that's what we do. We make, let's be realistic, we make low offers, but at the end of the day, we're helping these homeowners because they need out. Nobody wants these properties. Right. Nobody, your average buyer, if they're not flippers or landlords or developers, they're not going to buy a property and put $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 into the property. Right. They want to buy a property where they can move into, or they can, do a little lipstick work, or we call it lipstick on a pig, and they can either put it back on the market and sell it quick, right?
Maybe rent it out, but nothing crazy.
Absolutely. Yeah. But my point here is we are real estate day traders, okay? We're in and we're out, right? Now, if we want to hold any of these properties, you can do that. You can start building your portfolio if you have a wholesale operation, because you can cherry pick the best deals, right? We come across land. We come across storage facilities. We come across multi-family deals, 5 units, 20 units, 80 units, apartment complexes. We come across everything, right? As long as we know how to talk to the motivated sellers, whether it's a commercial seller or residential seller, land, single family, multifamily, it doesn't matter. As long as we know how to pre-qualify these people over the phone and ask the right questions,
right,
and make the right offers and build trust or build rapport and understand the numbers is the most important thing. Mm-hmm. Once you know your numbers, that's why we have the underwriter, you know how to make these offers. I think the money is also made on the offers. The way you approach these sellers and the way you present the offers is everything. The offer call is everything, right? Also, I realized that real estate wholesaling is a data game, mm-hmm. right? You have to understand who the seller is. You have to understand the seller avatar, right? You got to know, what areas are they usually in? Where do they hang out? You got to know all the demographics. You got to know everything about your motivated seller.
Psychographics, todo.
Everything. Mm-hmm. You need to know who they are. We like to operate in primary markets. Lots of buyers, lots of sellers, right? That's the markets we like to operate in. I hear a lot of people get into the game and they want to be in Alabama, they want to be in New York, they want to be in California because they heard, they saw somebody on Instagram make a $80,000 check, mm-hmm. right? And then they realize, remember, the riches are in the niches. So you have to niche down and understand your market and master the market before you expand. Mm-hmm. That's the way I see it. And I've done that before too. I've done deals in other markets and I try to expand or scale too fast and then I got punched in the face. Mm. Right? So right now what we're doing, we're operating in Central Florida to South Florida.
That was going to be my next question, is if your niching down is regional or if it's socioeconomic, like what are the things that will determine kind of that segmentation?
Primary markets.
Got you.
Orlando, Tampa, St. Petersburg, Clearwater, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, West Palm Beach. Good markets. Mm-hmm. Lots of buyers, lots of sellers. Remember, this is a red state. Everybody's moving here right now. Everybody's moving here. So the supply and demand is crazy right now. So what we need to do is we need to understand the real estate market cycles, mm-hmm. right? We, as wholesalers, we can make money on a down market, up market, middle market, doesn't matter. As long as you understand the acquisition game, it's all about, we make the money when we contract these deals. Mm-hmm. Once we contract these deals, we control the contracts. Okay? We want to acquire, we want to buy low and control the contract.
For someone that is not familiar with the value of a contract acquisition or that degree of control, because I think for a lot of people, when you think about real estate, it's okay, I can buy it. I'm either going to make money from it by the appreciation and either refinancing or selling the property, or, income consistently from renting it out. When we're talking about contracts, for someone that doesn't know, like, what is the value in acquiring a contract for a home, right? What can you do with that? What's the power or the intrinsic value in that?
So it depends, right? Are we catering to flippers? Are we catering to landlords? Are we catering to developers? Who are we catering to, right? You're buying a property that's worth $300,000 and you're buying it from us at $160,000. Most likely that's a full rehab. That's a fixer-upper, mm-hmm. right? So the flipper needs to buy it, value add it, renovate the property, and then resell it on the open market, right? Or they can just buy it at $160,000, renovate it, and rent it out long term, or Airbnb it. Whatever exit they can have. We give them, when we sell the deal on the disposition side, we run a comparative market analysis. And we go, hey, we believe this is a good Airbnb potential. Right. We believe this is a great fixer-upper. Here's the most recent comparables from the last 3 to 6 months. Mm-hmm. Right? Market is constantly changing. So I'm not going to use comparables from 2 years ago.
Right.
So we're going to go with the recent.
Yeah.
We like to stick to comparables typically between 60 and 120 days.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good range.
Yeah.
For some additional reference or context, would you say that the acquisition of these contracts is similar to like options in like the stock market, where you can purchase the contract and it gives you the right to buy at a certain price, but you can exercise that in whatever way it is that you want? And that would be like the different exits that you described.
Right. So I'm not an options guy, but I understand
Yeah.
the basics of it. So yes. So when you acquire these contracts, you typically have on a typical wholesale deal, you have roughly about 30 days, right? And roughly you can put 7, you can put 14-day inspection. What this 7 to 14-day inspection really is time for you to find a cash buyer to close on the property.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So with real estate wholesaling, we are real estate day traders. This is real estate arbitrage.
Right.
So what we want to do is we want to contract the deals and sell them as quickly as possible. Mm-hmm. That's it. We want to be in and out. We're not holding real estate.
Right.
We're in and out.
Because you also have that clock ticking for the expiration of the contract.
So if you ask me which one is better, real estate wholesaling or flipping, to me, flipping houses, actually buying the houses, renovating the houses, and flipping the houses, that's not real estate investing. Mm-hmm. In wholesaling is no different than that.
Right.
Just with wholesaling, we're flipping the paper.
Right.
Right. By the time, an investor is about to go and meet with the seller in person, we're already locking them up over the phone.
Yeah.
Right. So speed and convenience in wholesaling real estate virtually is amazing because, we've beaten other people like landlords and flippers who take the time to drive 2-3 hours to meet a seller. Like we literally lock up the deal over the phone. The times we do meet with them in person, we do that because they're elderly or they just don't have knowledge with computers anymore. They can't do DocuSign. So we send usually a licensed notary to go out there or a licensed agent within our network of trusted boots on the ground to go and meet with the seller.
Mm-hmm. So then I suppose the benefit you mentioned to flipping the paper is speed to the seller, speed to the money. Like you can actually see your profits and your spread come in quicker. But the benefit on the actual flipping side would be that you get a larger spread.
Absolutely.
So
I'll give you some examples, right? So just today, right? We just contracted 2 deals at $75,000 each. Okay. We went ahead and we listed both properties on the market. And then immediately we got the phone ringing. Mm-hmm. And we're selling both properties with tenants, with troubled tenants, right? Now the property is worth around $260, completely renovated. I was able to successfully sell them both at $116.5 each.
Oh wow!
To one buyer.
Wow!
Right? Who was a realtor? She's a realtor and her husband is a flipper, and they're like, oh, I'll take both of them. I'll close on them on the next 2 weeks. So once they put the escrow deposit of $10,000, $5,000 each, because they need to put skin in the game, right? Because that's what I need them to feel it, right? Because when it gets to the closing table, if they have to like $500 to $1,000 escrow, anybody could be okay. Like I'm okay with losing that.
I'll walk from that.
But when you have $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 escrows, they're like, oh, they're thinking about it twice.
Yeah.
If they can't close,
and you want that security, naturally.
Yeah, and if they don't close, I keep that deposit.
Yeah.
Right. And if the seller is going through hard times, then we'll split that. We'll either give it to the seller because they couldn't close on the property, or we'll split it with them. Mm-hmm. So that's basically it. So another component that's very, very important as a wholesaler is working with the right title companies or escrow companies or attorneys, right? And we like to use an attorney-backed title company because there's an attorney backing us up in case of any litigation or any issue. Right. But our contracts are very important. The acquisition guys and the disposition guys need to understand our contracts.
And the language of them.
Of course. We make it very simple, very transparent. We're buying the property as is. We're paying the closing costs, and that's it. So that's what we do.
Got you. Amazing. So you mentioned coming into this game, you had the experience as a realtor, right? In New York, in a competitive market.
Sales experience, I would say.
Right. So that's kind of what I'm curious about is if I'm someone that's coming in, I'm hearing what it is that you do. It sounds cool. I could see potentially how I could fit into that game. What is some of the experience or what are some of the skill sets that you would say are advisable or even necessary for me to have? Obviously, sales and marketing sound like 2 big ones. But let's talk about some of the softer skills, right? there are some industries you can get away with not being the most detail-oriented person, for example.
Yeah.
What are the things that you find to be really helpful or potentially even non-negotiable from a soft skill standpoint to win in this game?
So there's different ways to approach an answer to what you just asked. So my best advice for somebody that's new, that are you asking someone that's coming in without sales experience?
Yeah. Let's say they're a blank slate and they can pick and choose. Like, I don't know if you ever played video games, but
right.
sometimes at the beginning of certain types of game, like you get like 10 points and it's like, okay, you got to split these points up. You can have charisma, you can have strength, you can have whatever.
Sure.
If they were going to be allocating those points to different skill sets, what would make them the most successful?
Absolutely. So number one, if you're coming into real estate wholesaling, you have to, I would say you're more likely to be successful if you already have previous sales experience. Right? You need communication experience. You need people experience. I've seen people do well coming out of network marketing or door-to-door sales, solar guys, just any types of sales. Any type of communication career you previously had before getting into this game it's like very, very important, right? But if you don't have that experience, then what I would do is I would go and work for somebody that has the results that you want and become very, very valuable. That's what I would do. So you either find a mentor, right? Pay them to teach you what they know because you want the results they have. That's route number one. Route number two is you can go the trial and error route. I went the trial and error route. But the reason I did that is because I understood sales and negotiation, right? And I went through YouTube University. I went and I figured out, I'm like, I can do this. And I sold myself on the fact that I can do this. And eventually I got it done.
Yeah.
I got my first deal, made $18,000. So basically I did that and I realized it's possible before it even happened. However, most people do not have experience in sales. So you either go pay a mentor that has the results that you want. Make sure it's a proven mentor, somebody that has the results that you want. Very important.
Yeah.
Number two, go and work for somebody and become the most valuable person in the room, right? Once you do that, but you can either tell the person that, I wouldn't tell the person that you're working for that you're looking to start your own operation, by the way. You shouldn't do that because they're going to immediately look at you as competition.
Yeah. Or potential.
Or, not competition. Let me take that back. But I would say this is a threat to my organization.
Yeah.
I'm teaching somebody that can go.
They could turn into competition or I could just have too much dependability on them just for them to walk.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. But then that's why there's non-competes.
Yeah.
Right. 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years.
Did you... A little bit of a pivot, but did you see that they nullified non-competes?
Yeah.
How does that change things for you? Has that changed things for you?
Well, it hasn't been an issue for me.
Yeah.
At all. But usually that's an attorney question.
Yeah.
So I would probably get with my attorney and say, how do we go around this?
Right. How do we
solve this problem?
I just thought that was so interesting when it happened because it was like I woke up one day, I was like, oh, non-competes even retroactively just washed. That's wild.
Well, let's see what happens with the presidential elections. That's going to have to do a lot with that. And you have a guy like Trump, who is probably going to dissolve that.
Yeah, that's a great point
because it doesn't benefit. First of all, himself, because that's what he cares about, and people in business, CEOs.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah. So I think I don't want to get into politics, but basically
still in the air.
That's still in the air, and I'm a Republican, full on Republican. So I am I'm hoping that he wins, that they don't steal the election from him.
Yeah. You mentioned team, right? And what it looks like to insert yourself on a successful team underneath the wing of a mentor. How big is your team all in right now? How many folks do you have supporting?
I have to count them, but I would say right now my team is under 20.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's bigger obviously than many people's teams, right? Especially if they're just starting out. I'm curious to know for you, because part of what you mentioned, especially on the acquisition side, is you have labor that is at a lower skill threshold. Not to say that the skill set doesn't need to be there, but you can source individuals off of these platforms like you mentioned. And
Sure.
there's a little bit of a wider talent pool, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious to know, both for those individuals and the other members of your team, right? What are the things that you're looking for in a solid team member? How are you vetting them? How are you determining, yeah, you know what, you're going to stick around. Hey, I think you need a little bit of, training and support, or hey, you got to go. What are the things that are going through your mind as you're assessing team member candidates and new hires?
That's a great question, by the way. So choosing the people that are going to join my organization, I am very slow to hire, quick to fire. I am ruthless, okay? I'm not here to be your buddy. I'm here to make money. And I want them, and I asked them at the beginning, do you want to be rich? If you want to be rich, you can join my organization, because I'm going to keep growing with or without you, right? One of the biggest mistakes I've did before is I depended my business on acquisition managers. That switched this year. I don't, they're all replaceable. They're all replaceable. And I realized that, my partner and I realized, because I have a partner, that we are the best closers, both on the acquisition and on the disposition side. I've done, back in September, when basically of last year, we got together, we literally let go of everybody. We fired everybody, right? And me and him brought about $250,000 in under 30 days.
Wow.
Some crazy numbers like that. And then we recently did it again.
Wow.
Together. So we know the power of sales and negotiation. But to answer your question is, I look at them in the eye. The eyes, Chico, they never lie. I ask them questions. I see if they get nervous. They start touching themselves. And the way they react to the question is going to tell me everything I need to know. Right? That's also street knowledge.
Yeah.
Right? It's good to be, I went to college and I also, I was in the streets. So I can understand body language.
Yeah.
I understand neuro-linguistic programming. I understand mind control. I understand, movements, gestures, and it tells me everything I need to know about them. But one question I like to ask is, what is one problem you solved, one major problem you solved for anybody you worked for, and tell me how you did it?
You just asked me that earlier. Yeah.
Yeah. So I like to ask that question to everybody I hire.
Yeah.
Depending on how they answer that question, I go into a series of other questions. And sometimes the questions I ask have nothing to do with your typical questionnaire to hire people. It's more of, I'm going to hit you with a couple of hooks where you don't expect it. And then I'm going to know who you are. And then I'm going to grab you. If I do choose to bring you to my organization, I'm going to throw you in the tank. And when I look at you and I see if you swim, if you can swim, then I see that you have potential, I come and swim next to you.
Right.
And I protect you. And I give you the leads. Right? And I give you the leads. I bombard you with leads because that's what you need. As an operator, one of the most important things that you should do is provide your people with the highest quality leads possible. Consistent lead flow. So as an operator, you need to do that, especially when you have good closers. We just hired a 70-year-old and we just hired a 41-year-old. Within the first week, I think we already have like 6 potential contracts.
Wow.
And 2-3 already signed. So
wow.
My partner and I, actually, let me take a step back. One of the biggest mistakes I did as a real estate wholesaler is hiring friends and people that I thought I was cool with. These people will waste your time. You have no idea. Because they're watching you on social media. They're thinking like, oh my God, he's doing so well. He's doing so well. And then they come in very nice. And some of them, they just come in to see how you run the operation. So they can try to go and do their own thing. And it just never works.
Yeah.
So one thing we did, and I suggest for anybody listening here, if you want to grow your real estate company, you need to hire acquisition talent, professional people. I suggest to look for people that have 3 years of experience in acquisitions, in real estate acquisitions, minimum. they have 3 years of minimum experience. Anything over 5 years is even better. And then you want to know who they worked for, so you can call them and find out why did that end? And that's going to tell you a lot about them. So I stopped hiring little kids, and there's a lot of talent, young guys that are talented, but they're just chasing shiny objects.
Yeah. What are we describing? Like, is there an age that you're kind of like below that?
As far as the acquisition, over 40 years old.
Okay. Wow.
Over 40, like I said, I have a 41-year-old and a 70-year-old.
Yeah.
Yes, but a combined experience probably over like 25 years.
Yeah. Wow.
Right. So you put those guys in front of high quality data, they're going to convert.
Right.
They're going to convert, and you put a sales support team behind it to help them. It's all about helping the acquisition managers grow. Mm-hmm. Because if they grow, your business grows. Yeah. The money is made in acquisitions, period. So that's why our acquisitions people are definitely 6-figure earners, right? I can't make $2, $3, $4 million without having 6-figure earners. Right. No overhead. All they do all day long is make offers, negotiate with sellers, and follow up, and fucking close deals.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I care about. Contracts in. How many contracts do we have today? That's all I want to know. I don't care what you need to do. How many contracts do you have today? By the end of the week, by the end of the month. I want to make sure that my guys are happy, right? But it took a long time to find the right guys.
Yeah.
I wasted a lot of precious time training the wrong people.
Yeah.
It's a waste of time. What you need to do is you need to hire a professional. Get a recruiter. Pay them and hire. You understand? We did an ad. On our ad, before we found these 2 guys, we had 160 applications in like 48 hours.
Wow.
Every person was better than the other one. It was incredible. But you got to make sure you don't hire overqualified people either. Yeah, there's overqualified people.
What's the danger in hiring folks that are overqualified?
No, it's not really a danger thing. It's just you want people that could get the job done. People that have 3 to 5 years experience in sales acquisitions, right? And then you want to be able to have a sales support team to provide them and position them to win. You see, I don't have my closers running numbers and doing other things. Income generating activities only. Offers, be on the phone, smiling and dialing and following up and getting contracts signed. That's what you're getting paid for. That's your job. Sharks. They must be sharp. They must be perceived as professionals in their field, and they gotta be enthusiastic. Mm-hmm. That's it. Once they have these 3 things, sky's the limit.
That's beautiful. Because of the conversations that we've had off camera, I know how meticulous you are with your systems, processes, numbers, KPIs. Yes. This is something that comes up all the time with people I work with a lot of creative agencies.
Yes.
And so a lot of the talent for these agencies, there are artists, they're creatives, and it's hard for people to kind of remove their emotions from measuring their success. So for example, if you're a video editor, right? Some editors are going to produce better results than others. Some videos are going to be edited in a way that brings more viewership, more engagement, whatever that is. A lot of people have a hard time tracking that, and they end up making decisions about who stays and who goes based on how they feel about the individual. What kind of systems have you put in place to help you bring clarity to that process and turn it into a data conversation and not an emotions conversation?
That's a great question, right? There's different ways to answer that, okay? For example, I'll explain the partnership I have, right? My partner and we could both run operations by ourselves.
Yeah.
But we realized that we're gonna do a separation of power, right? And the separation is one handles the acquisition sales floor, the other handles the disposition investor relations department, right? We're building our company like an incubator, like a hedge fund, right? And the way we like to do things is you handle the acquisition, I handle the disposition department. I handle the investors, the people with the money. You handle the sellers, the people where we make the money, right? Because the money is made in acquisitions. Disposition is super important as well. But we created our own system and processes based on all his mistakes and my mistakes. We have a CRM. We have a developer who customizes our CRM. And we have an underwriter. We have an executive assistant. We have an executive administrator. We have a transaction coordinator with over 3 years of experience dealing with all types of real estate transactions, right? We have 3 acquisition managers. We have 2 processors, right? The processors bring the deals. They're like in between the cold caller and I want to say lead managers is another way of calling them. And the rest is the cold callers, right? We own the call centers. We don't outsource other companies to run our data, because the real estate wholesaling game is a data game. He who has access to my data or our data has control of my business.
Yeah.
Nobody has access to my data. I am in control of the data at all times, right? And I also have a data scientist. I didn't mention that, right? I have a full-on data scientist on my payroll. He's a brilliant individual who understands data science, and he's very expensive. And but he's an investment, one of the biggest investments we've ever made. Well, I've ever made, and now with my partner, it's one of the biggest investments we've made, because we understood that this is a data game. This is a data and artificial intelligence game.
So happy to hear you say that, because that is my next question. Is like, obviously this industry, contrary to a lot of the industries that I play in, is not new, right? People have been doing this for long time.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know, at this point in time that we're in, with AI becoming more accessible, more prevalent, and making its way into the smart businesses that are in the game right now, how do you see AI changing your industry, changing the game that you're in, changing the market potentially? What are the things that you're seeing over the horizon as it pertains to artificial intelligence?
Amazing. We're going to leverage it.
Yeah.
We're going to partner up with artificial intelligence. I just see it as an advantage. It's going to scare most people that don't understand it. The only reason it's going to scare you and is going to keep you in the fear frequency is because you don't understand it.
Right.
I understand it. I look into it. I'm already having these conversations with our data scientists. What's next? What's this business going to look like in the next year to 5 years? You're either going to adapt or die. We're going to adapt for sure. And that's it. We're very competitive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yes,
That's
sir.
awesome. I feel like you just laid out like the master class for anybody that's looking to jump into this game, or maybe already has, but is looking to start to really make some progress and some traction.
Sure.
You spoke a lot to some of your biggest mistakes, which is incredibly valuable. And as always, like, appreciate your candor and transparency. I think the last thing I would say is, if there's someone that is playing the game right now and they're not finding success with it, can you speak to what you found to be some of the most common reasons that someone that is in this industry is not finding success or growth in it?
So I find that the most successful people I've ever come across are the most genuine people, right? So when the student is ready, the mentor is going to appear.
Yeah.
Right. So I would seek a mentor as soon as possible. get in front of the right people. The one way you can do it, download the Meetup app. That's the way I did it in 2018. And I started going inside rooms and I started shaking hands and talking to people. So get really, really good at networking. Get really, really good at asking the right questions.
Mm-hmm.
Who has somebody out? It's not about the how, it's about the who.
Yeah.
Who has the information that you need in order for you to be successful? And how hard are you working every day to find the who, not the how?
Yeah.
That's it.
I love it. I appreciate you, man. I know these folks going to appreciate it too. This is number 2 of many more. Yeah, man, just implement on the info. What does your openness to taking on mentees? Obviously you're giving a ton of value in content like this, but for someone that has questions, for someone that feels like they could benefit more closely, from working with you more closely, is that something you're open to? Just curious for anyone that might be asking the same question.
Well, that's a great question. So I'm really focused on being an operator, right? I'm not interested in cloud. Let me be clear. I don't care about being famous. I care about being wealthy, right? I like privacy. Yes, I'm on social media as well. But for 2025, I do have some goals of creating a private mastermind where I can hand choose, just like I hand choose our acquisition people. I want to hand choose the people that join my mastermind. And yes, I'm very open to it. I'm just getting into the platforms where I'm going to be dropping value to the average Joe who just wants to make a little bit of money or a lot of money. Let's be more clear. Somebody who wants to make money in this business, I believe that I can help them because I'm not in here to try to charge you $15,000, $20,000, $25,000 of mentorship. If I'm charging you $25,000 of mentorship, I know what it takes to make that kind of money at the beginning. And that's a lot of money. Okay. So if you're going to put $25,000 into my mentorship, you best believe I'm going to give you massive value.
Yeah.
Because I know and I can see your talent before you see it in yourself.
Yeah.
So that's the most important thing. I have the ability of seeing someone's talent before they see it in themselves. And if I can identify that through all different types of ways that I know how to do so. Like I said, neurolinguistic programming, I've been studying it for many years. If I see that you have that potential and I see that you got what it takes, I would love to bring you in my mastermind.
Amazing. Cool.
Yes. So yes, the answer is yes, 2025.
That's exciting. Sweet. Yes. Well, then I'm sure we'll hopefully you'll be a part of kind of exposing those details as they become clearer and as that door opens up for folks that are interested.
Absolutely.
And in the meantime, I'm going to keep running up the value and helping people get to where they're looking to go.
Let's do it.
Cool, man. Appreciate you, player.
Always.